Hello and welcome to the PLUTUS IAS. Today we are going to discuss about the new topic of public administration, that is development administration. See, as the name is saying, development administration. This is a administration, particular type of administration meant for development, right? Particular type of administration meant for development, or you can say it refers to the development. See, about their origin. The origin of development administration is related to the study made after the end of end of Second World War. So after the end of Second World War, there was need of fast socio-economic development to the newly independent countries, जो colonial countries से independent हुए थे, Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, where there was strong need of development. And see, along with that, the development administration came into existence, right? Then the point second, related to what you say, origin of development administration, is study of comparative public administration, right? Although comparative public administration is different from development administration, but with the study of comparative public administration, development administration came into existence. Since, see, this is your newly, this is your, you can get it through, this is your colonial countries, colonial countries, and here you have the independent countries, independent countries, right? After Second World War, there was a strong need of development and what you say, rehabilitation function, rehabilitation functions, socio economic development to these countries, right? So colonial countries were intended to provide them provide them technology and funding, technology and funding. And in that transfer of technology and funding, development administration development administration administration development administration came into came into existence, right? Development administration came into existence because, see, colonial countries were providing technology and funding to the newly independent countries, and these technology and funding came to the newly independent countries in the form of development administration, right? This is the theoretical development of development administration. कहते हैं कि थ्योरी के रूप में डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कहाँ से आया. So in theoretical terms, development administration is of Western origin, right? In theoretical terms, development administration comes from the Western countries and led by USA and, see, led by Ford Foundation and World Bank, right? World Bank. Since World Bank was, see, represented by Western countries, Ford Foundation was the, see, organization, NGO or civil society, was providing the fund. See, World Bank was providing fund to the Ford Foundation and was ultimately providing fund to the newly independent countries. So the, see, important organization was Ford Foundation and World Bank, which was taken as, see, progenitor to the development administration. So in terms of technology and fund, development administration came into India. Another one thing regarding the origin is that, see, development administration by nature is Western in origin first, although it is meant for the developing countries, because ultimately the independent countries were required to have the technology and funding. So development administration is for newly independent countries, or what you say, developing countries, but in theoretical terms it is Western oriented, right? First. Second thing is that development administration was non-conditional in nature, right? So about, you see, the nature of development administration, Western in origin, in theoretical terms. Then what I have said कि ये जो है वो कैसा है, नॉन कंडीशनल इन नेचर, नॉन कंडीशनल in nature. Since after Second World War, there was a challenge for or before developing countries to either join to Western country or Eastern, what do you say, leading country USSR, which was see related or what you say कि जो नेतृत्व कर रहा था वो रसिया था, जो ईस्टर्न कंट्रीज का जो लीडरशिप कर रहा था वो कौन था, रशिया था, आइदर टू ज्वाइन ईस्टर्न ग्रुप और टू ज्वाइन वेस्टर्न ग्रुप. Since there was some kind of tendency that newly independent country might be joining Russia or Eastern Alliance. Hence, Western group, that is, what you say, USA, Britain, and so-called leader of World Bank and Ford Foundation attracted newly independent countries to be coming in their group by giving assistance in terms of technology and fund to these newly independent countries, or what you say, developing they were having with some kind of doubt that these newly independent countries might be joining Eastern group. They are represented by socialism, and Western group was represented with capitalism. So to lure newly independent countries, Western groups, with the help of World Bank and Ford Foundation, provided technology and fund to the newly independent countries in terms of what you say, development administration, and was saying that if you are not changing the face of administration, if you are not changing the face of administration, if you are not changing the face of administration, as there may be development orientation in that administration, you could not be able to use the technology, right? You could not be able to use the technology. We are providing the funds and technology, but you are not able to use this technology and fund until and unless you change your face. You change your face in terms of change in their nature, which is required in change in nature, which is required for the development, right? So The change in the face of the administration. What the change in the face of the administration was? You can discuss here that this is your development administration, and you have the traditional administration, that is rigid, hierarchical, rule oriented. These are the basic characteristic of traditional bureaucracy or administration, which is rigid in nature, bound to rule, hierarchy, grading of duties according to authority and responsibility, that is hierarchy. Then rule orientation was there in traditional administration. What is required to be changed in the form of flexible, then you have hierarchical, then you see here rigid in terms of change as flexible, then hierarchy, that is non hierarchical, and then rule oriented, more towards what you say role oriented. Commitment to the constitution, society, and public policy. Then participative. These are the characteristics required to be changed from the traditional administration, which was came into existence as development administration. So you can differentiate between traditional public administration or administration and development administration. Development administration requires or having with prerequisite of their nature to be flexible, non-hierarchical, then role oriented rather of rule oriented, commitment to the constitution, not to the only rule but commitment to the constitution, society, public और public policy, right? So public policy के कंटेक्स्ट में जो कमिटमेंट होगा उससे क्या होगा, डेवलपमेंट डिसाइड होगा. देन पार्टिसिपेटिव, सी ये अलूफ नहीं रहेगा बल्कि ये पार्टिसिपेटिव होगा, लोगों को प्रमोट करेगा. देन मोटिवेशन was also there to be included in the phase or what you say characteristic of development administration. But the basic thing was was that it is required to be changed into their nature in terms of flexibility, non-hierarchical, role oriented, commitment, participation. Still the organization and bureaucrats in particular would be the same. मतलब ब्यूरोक्रेट जो है वो सेम होगा, पर्सन के रूप में सेम होगा, बस उसमें क्या है कि इस टाइप के चेंजेस लाने हैं. इट इज नॉट द अल्टरनेट टू द ब्यूरोक्रेसी. सो यू कैन से here in characteristic development administration is to change the face of traditional public administration and not as replacement to the ब्यूरोक्रेसी। ब्यूरोक्रेसी जो ट्रेडिशनल है, जो ब्यूरोक्रेट्स थे पहले से जमे हुए एग्जिस्ट कर रहे थे, उनको रिप्लेस करना, उनको रूट आउट करना भी नहीं था। उसी को कुछ उसमें कुछ इम्पोर्टेंट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स को इंट्रोड्यूस करना था। इसी वजह से दैट्स व्हाई इट केम एज ए important challenge to the administration in terms of how any such kind of drastic change could be possible with the traditional attitude। अगर ब्यूरोक्रेट्स में ट्रेडिशनल एटीट्यूड रूल बाउंडेड है, रिजिडिटी है, हायरार्कियल है, तो उसमें फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी कैसे आएगा, उसमें रोल ओरिएंटेशन कैसे आएगा, उसमें कमिटमेंट टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन कैसे आएगा। So these things has become a challenging task for the administration to be developed in nature, right? But the thing, how it is different, how it is different from another one concept that is known as new public management। New public management. Since new public management and development administrations are related, hence it is required to discuss new public management along with the development administration. See, in 1950 to 60, development administration came into existence since newly independent countries required to have the technology and funding. Along with that, the idea of comparative public administration was also initiated, because without study of developing countries, their nature of administration, their polity, their society, development administration or transfer of technology and funds could not be possible or could not be successfully transferred, because if you are giving the fund and technology to an individual country without studying their ecology, such kind of transfer would not be successful. Those programs would not be better implemented until and unless their ecology would be studied, right? So parallelly, comparative public administration was also originated, but here the transfer was what you say non-conditional, and the background was rehabilitation functions. Rehabilitation functions was there, required to be introduced in newly developed countries. But in 1980s, during the serious oil crisis and what you say era of resource crunch, resource crunch when developing countries developing countries went before the World Bank, IMF. They were ready to provide the fund, but introduce the new ideas as a prerequisite for those developing countries for the use of such kind of technology and funding. See here, technology and funding provided to the developing countries non-conditional, because parallelly there was existence of a separate group like USSR. Developed countries were having such kind of fear, doubts that these independent countries might be moving towards the Eastern Union, and the leader was USSR, or towards the USSR. So they were say ready to provide the funds. They were ready to provide the funds unconditional. But during this era of 1980s, there was no existence of USSR. Since 80s and 90s, you can say in 90s there is no any parallel existence of a group in the form of USSR. So there is no challenge over the Western countries in providing the fund and technology to the developing countries, and thereafter, and because of that, they introduced the new condition as new condition as public new public management new public management right new public management new public management and saying as if you introduce these characteristics of new public management, then the technology or funds would better be implemented. So technology and funds were provided to the developing countries conditional. So the difference is that, see, while development administration is conditional because of the existence of parallel group, Eastern group, that is USSR. They were having with some kind of fear that these newly independent countries will join the Eastern group. Hence, they were provided the funds and technology non-conditional. But because of the dissolution of USSR in 90s, when developing countries, because of their balance of payment crisis, economic crisis, or different kind of demands were there, for which they went before the World Bank and IMF, demanded funds. At that time, World Bank and IMF was ready to provide the technology and fund, but these technology and funds were to be given to the developing countries conditional, and that condition was taken as new public management. So new public management has got some kind of technology taken from market. ये न्यू पब्लिक मैनेजमेंट में कुछ मार्केट टेक्नोलॉजी को ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में इफिशिएंसी एंड इफेक्टिवनेस को इंट्रोड्यूस करने के लिए कुछ न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी को, कुछ न्यू कैरेक्टरिस्टिक को, कुछ न्यू टेक्निक्स को इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया है, एंड दैट न्यू टेक्निक एंड टेक्नोलॉजी was termed as new public management. So if asking what are the basic difference between development administration and new public management, you can say while development administration is what you say non-conditional, new public management is conditional. Development administration is towards the socio-economic development of the society and nation, while new public management was to introduce the market principles into the government, right? And see here the purpose is to achieve socio-economic goals, but in new public management here goal was there itself, but the goal was to make the organization more efficient, more effective. That is to say, what you say, more outcome based. कि लगाया और उससे क्या क्या चीज मिला, that is known as outcome, है ना? So and another one important factor is also there. While development administration is outward in nature, outward means socio-economic development करना है through the different programs, new organization to be set up, but new public management is more particular to the internal restructuring of the organization in terms of making better capacity of the organization by introducing new technology of market to make the organization, make the public organization more efficient and effective, right? Then you have some other concept. This is your development administration, right? This is your development administration, and another one term is administrative development, right? Administrative development. The questions are asking about what are the difference between development administration and administrative development. So to compare development administration with administrative development, there must be some similarity to be discussed. So development administration and administrative development both are related to the development, both are related to the administration, both are of the same origin. Development administration requires to have the administrative development, and administrative development will finally lead to the development administration. For example, like that, this is the see विकसित भारत जी राम जी स्कीम और प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य योजना, like that. So this is the program to provide 125 days of employment. And the purpose is to socio-economic development of the society. This is also saying about health improvement and socio-economic well-being of the society, socio-economic well-being of the society. Both are related to socio-economic development, you can say. But these programs could not be successful until and unless the persons involved to implement those programs would be more capable. So strengthening the bureaucracy by giving better training, capacity building, capacity building, better structure of the organization, better procedure of the organization, what we have already discussed. This program could not be successful. इस प्रोग्राम को सक्सेसफुल होने के लिए इसमें क्या दिया जाएगा, लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट दिया जाएगा 125 डेज का. बट ये एम्प्लॉयमेंट से पब्लिक का क्या होगा, सोशियो इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट होगा. सो अल्टीमेटली दिस प्रोग्राम could be equated with development administration. This program is an example of development administration. This program would lead to development administration in the form of socio-economic development. So the purpose of development administration is socio-economic development, right? Change in administration in terms of economic upliftment, social changes. So socio-economic developments are there. Again, PMJ is also related to socio-economic development, poverty elimination, then health improvement, health infrastructures to be developed. See, then in case of BBG Ramji, until and unless you have not the data or basic data about the requirement of the job, what type of job should be given to the beneficiaries, and see the place where job is required, then job cards should be there to be given to the laborers, and then such kind of digital payment system like what you say direct benefit transfer, then digital governance are there to be required for better access of what you say employment, then enrollment of those laborers. And these digital platform or basic data sets would require to be there for the better implementation of this type of program. So this basic data and see technology and data sets, then you have the direct benefit transfer could be possible with the help of better bureaucracy. So the better bureaucracy could be possible by giving the training to their employees with having digital or access of digital technology, access of DBT, access of how job cards could better be made. तो ये सब जो जॉब कार्ड कैसे बनाया जाएगा उसका प्रैक्टिकल ट्रेनिंग शुड बी गिवन टू द एम्प्लॉयज़. तो ये जो एम्प्लॉयज़ को ट्रेनिंग देंगे, एम्प्लॉयज़ को व्हाट यू से जॉब कार्ड के बारे में बताएंगे, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी से अवेयर कराएंगे, वुड बी कमिंग अंडर व्हाट यू से एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव डेवलपमेंट. On the same way, this is PMJ, in which the purpose is to provide better health, but without having with data of who is required for the free access of health facilities. किसको दिया जाना चाहिए, अदरवाइज अननेसेसरी नॉन बेनिफिशरीज को भी ये सुविधा मिल सकता है. So the program or targeted approach should be there, and targeted approach could only be successful by having with better administration, right? So administration must be having with better data who is required for the say benefit of that scheme. Then proper training should be given to the what you say administration. Then the better relationship between center and state should be there. And how it could be possible? By having smart intelligent bureaucrats to be introduced. So all would come under administrative development. So the improvement in administration in general will come under administrative development, but the program for the development will come under development administration. So these are the basic points how development administration and administrative development, and how development administration and new public managements is differentiating. Today is about these discussions. Thank you.